How's everyone doing today? Hope great. I'm here to do another talk on essential oil wellness. Today, it's going to be about essential oil coaching for wellness professionals. It's about selection and application. If you're not familiar with who I am, Jim Harrison, and I'm an essential oil and plant-based expert and strategist. I've been at it for 30 years. 16 of those years, I was teaching at a medical university. And before that, I actually had co-founded a plant-based skincare company. We were in Whole Foods, big retails across the country, and also in spas internationally, which I'm still in a handful of spas internationally. So today, I'm going to talk to you about, I'm calling it essential oil coaching. And what I mean by essential oil coaching is what people call a therapist. And so it's a therapist who uses essential oils. I find a lot of what goes on in aromatherapy to be extremely limited. And so because of those limitations, I like to use different words to describe what I do. I was saying essential oil consultant, but consultant can be kind of a turnoff. I've hired consultants before and gotten nowhere. So it's not, I don't just want to tell you stuff. I don't want to just consult. I want to coach. And this is what as a teacher, as an educator, this is what my whole theme about is. In my courses, in my classes, one of the first things I tell people is that I'm going to give you information, but the information is yours. The essential oils are yours, and you have to use them for who you are, especially as a therapist. I've worked with so many. This is why I'm working at or teaching at the medical universities, because in that class I had MD doctors, ND doctors, biochemists. I mean, I had such a diverse crowd, and because it was outside of the curriculum, I actually had lay people who weren't scientists, people who weren't therapists. A lot of people from the spa industry would come to my classes. Now, from that, I can tell you what to do with the essential oils, but that's not my role. My role is to educate you, is to give you all the information I can, plus all the variables that go along with essential oils. There are a lot of variables, and that's the thing that I find gets kind of squished into little narrow categories with people learning about essential oils, teaching about essential oils, working with essential oils. We tend to get kind of narrow. And what I want to do is I want to explain how for you can get into your own space there, but the essential oils are always going to have this wide range of diversity and variables when you're using them. So in this talk, which is, coaching for the wellness professional, wellness therapist, and even corporate wellness, having employee programs, this works also very well. And in coaching, which is what I'm going to explain to you on how I go about working with essential oils, or coaching with essential oils, or being what's defined as an aromatherapist. In that role, the goal is always to have results, right? Whatever those results may be. But you don't know what those results are going to be until you know what the goal is. So your number one step in any time you're working with a client is to know what you want those results to be. And the way to figure out what those results are going to be is you have to know what the goal is, what's the focus. If somebody has backache or tension or something like that, you want to resolve that. So the goal is to resolve tension, muscle tension, or backache, whatever it may be. If it's about skincare, your goal is to resolve acneic skin care or sensitive skin. These are all the things that, not all the things, but this is the focus that you want to have first. Your focus is your focus. Your focus is your goal. So once you define your goal, you want to know what's going to bring you to the most effective, positive results to satisfy or find a solution for that goal. And when working with essential oils, this is where the variables come in, because what we have, if you are a beginner, if you're new to essential oils, if you've been using them and haven't really studied them in depth, you're likely relying on what has been told to you or what you find in a book or online. Careful online, but books. There's lots of recipes out there. Things like this is very, very common in the spa industry. Is eucalyptus on cloth or hands or whatever, and you're putting them your person's nose, whether they're lying down on the table or whatever it may be, and you do the eucalyptus. It's cool, but it's so limited. It's just so limited. What is your purpose? Generally think, oh, it's going to help you breathe deeper, and if you're going to get to that point, yes, that'll work. But who is it you're doing this to? Who's the person laying on that table or sitting in that chair that you're letting them smell the eucalyptus? What does that eucalyptus mean to them? This is another piece I'm going to put into this little puzzle I'm creating for you on how to coach, is in that situation, you've created an intention. Most likely, I'm assuming you're telling the person why you're letting them smell eucalyptus. It's going to help you breathe deeper, it's going to help you relax. These are intentions. Does eucalyptus really do that? Mostly, yes. Is it doing it because we think it's going to do that? Yes. Not mostly, but yes. So intention is a big piece of what we're dealing with here. And so coaching practice, I'm going to give you the steps that I've used. And so I gave you some bullet points as a description for what this is all about. I'm going to try and follow those bullet points. First is how to assess client needs and select the right oils. And this is, in a way, what we started talking to you about. What is the goal? What is the focus? I have had, really over the last few years since I've been working at the university, I have not really practiced much as a coach or as a aromatherapist. I get people every once in a while coming to me and, can you help me with whatever? And, I'll go through some steps, but it's not an official consultation. Lately, I'm not working at the university anymore, and taking a different path. I'm meeting more people who want me to work with them as a coach, as an aromatherapist, and they're coming to me with some situations that can be challenging. And so the process that I want to tell you about today can help you get to better results, more positive results, even with these more challenging situations. And so I had a client recently, actually in the last couple of weeks, who I had first was recommended through a naturopathic doctor. She was sent to me for a pain formula that I have, and it was successful. And she's tried a lot of different things. So I was kind of surprised actually that the blend that I make did work for her. And she came back to get another bottle. As we were sitting there talking, it was almost like a consultation. It was almost like she was telling me, what if I were to ask questions as an intake form. She was giving me that information. And we were talking. I was telling her about a system I have that I don't really call it this, but it's about behavior modification. And she's severely overweight. She'd like to get down to 150 pounds, which came in a discussion later. And how can I do that? And in the conversation, I was telling her that it's about habits, it's about conditioning. There's emotional issues. There's just a long list of conditions that generally go along with when you're overweight and trying to lose weight. And so like I said, it's one of those challenging conditions. So what I did was she came to me for coaching, and it was interesting because I didn't really get to my normal way of doing that, which I have, a consultation intake form, and I didn't do any of that because she's very open about herself and the things she's been dealing with throughout life. And so I really was able to get all the information I needed just through a casual conversation, which I highly recommend in any kind of therapy. If you're a therapist who's been doing this for a while, you know that you get a lot of the valuable information just from casual conversation. So in this conversation, I found information that was valuable. When she started uh, finding herself to overeat and gain weight, what the situation there was. It wasn't emotional. I don't want to go as far as saying traumatic, but definitely as a young child, it was something that had a strong negative emotional impact on her. She was telling me about her upbringing, which was interesting because she was brought up in a household that was very strictly, healthy, I guess is the best term to do. Organic food, leaving out a lot of the foods that are known to be imbalancing or gain weight, sugar, one of those things. And so she was brought up in a way where you wouldn't suspect too much of the issues that she's dealing with. So in this conversation, which was a really good conversation, I got a lot of the information I needed in order to select the essential oils that I thought she needed. Um, so how did I select those oils? Well, there's a system I have called the Holistic Essential Oil Triad. The Holistic Essential Oil Triad is a system I use to understand essential oils, more so than selecting them, but you are selecting them based on the Holistic Triad as much as you're understanding how essential oils work from the Holistic Triad. Now, the Holistic Essential Oil Triad is three categories. The triad would tell you that, wouldn't it? Olfactory. And what I'm talking about is I'm talking about how do the essential oils affect or impact or therapeutically work through the sense of smell. So the olfactory system. And I want to, I use the word olfactory to understand the whole system of smell, which is the olfactory system, and understand how that works, what the functions are, what does smell mean. And it's a really, really interesting study, and it's still evolving so much. It's still evolving so much. There's so many, well, I shouldn't say so many, there's a handful of really good books in olfactory research. I recommend that you do some, a little bit of study on your own, just, kind of look out there and see what the books are. If you contact me, I can recommend. Let me give you my contact, by the way, so that you can, if you want to get in touch with me, this is the email to you, support@jimharrison.com. That's actually my website, jimharrison.com. You can go there. And actually, you can get a 30-minute consult with me, which I didn't change that to coaching yet. It's a 30-minute free consultation that if you want to talk to me about these things and just a little bit of information, I can do that. I do have some other services online there as well, that if you want to get my attention and learning for a couple hours, that's on there. So triad, olfactory, very, very interesting and has a huge impact on how essential oils will affect you. In fact, when I'm talking about these smell books, a lot of the authors that are olfactory researchers, not anything to do with aromatherapy or essential oils, they will discount the effect of essential oils. And I shouldn't say discount, though they do. It's more that they do not think that essential oils are any different than any other. And so therapeutically, and I will tell you this, any fragrance, any scent can be therapeutic. What I think that these olfactory researchers are missing is the essential oils and the compounds in the essential oils do have a dimension or a therapeutic effect that goes beyond what a lot of other fragrances have, unless it's coming from nature. I mean, in nature, the essential oils are coming from plants that are aromatic. So if you smell, flower or rose, you're getting the effect of rose essential oil, right? So there is a powerful olfactory response, including this one response, which is verbal cues, is what it's called in some books. And what a verbal cue is, if I give you an essential oil. And I tell kind of like this is what I was saying about eucalyptus earlier. And I tell you that here's eucalyptus, it's going to help you breathe deeper, it's going to help you relax for your service. You know what's going to happen is that person, your guest, is going to breathe deeper. They're going to relax before the service because your intention, you instructed them along with an olfactory response. And this is a very real response. It's you're not making it up. This is therapy. This is part of your therapeutic work. You have to understand how it works and what your verbal cues are. Very important piece of how I work with essential oils with therapists. I really emphasize verbal cues for attention. And also in this triad, we have pharmacology. Pharmacology is basically understanding essential oils from a similar perspective as how we understand pharmacology, which is mostly looking at how the essential oils bind with cell receptors. And when they bind with those cell receptors, they trigger a response in the body. Best example of that is peppermint. When you put peppermint on your skin, what's happening is menthol is binding with nerve endings, and that binding is sending a signal to the cold nerve endings, which triggers the response of that cooling effect you get on your skin. That is a pharmacological property. Now, sometimes they say physical, but understanding the olfactory system is also a physical response. When you smell an oil, let's use what should we use? Virginia cedarwood. I love Virginia cedarwood because it's a compound called cedrol. And in cedrol, what's happening is cedrol physically triggers a response for the parasympathetic nervous system to respond or to be raised. So especially for fight or flight, you're in sympathetic overload. And when you smell Virginia cedarwood, it raises sympathetic activity, which is the opposite of that sympathetic fight or flight, and it raises what's called rest and digest. It works through the vagus nerve. So there's a physical response to the olfactory system. When we talk pharmacology, we're talking physically binding with the cell receptors. And then there's the metaphysical, which is basically my I don't know category. And in metaphysical, we use energetics, we talk about frequency, we can be talking about chi, chakras, and the list goes on how we work energetically. And as a wellness therapist, I am sure you're working energetically, right? So, metaphysical category. This is one of those categories where who are you as the therapist, right? I said the oils are yours. The information is yours. Do with it what you do, all right? So if you are an energetic therapist, you work with frequencies, you muscle testing, chakras, whatever. That's your role. That's how you're going to incorporate the essential oils. All right. Now, I combine all three when I work. So with this client that came to me who wants to lose weight, I had my conversation and I really emphasized the use of intention. Law of attraction, things like that, I think are very powerful. And words matter. Now, this is, I have, I'm looking over here is where I put my list to make sure I'm giving you what I told you. I give you methods to maximize the effectiveness of each oil. All right, so I'm choosing the oils. I'm not telling you what oils I choose or how I did it. I'll tell you I had grapefruit there. One of the reasons I use grapefruit is that it was one research scientist. Actually, I found this in very many studies, and this kind of gives you an olfactory physical response. Grapefruit is been studied and shows that it can trigger a response through the nervous system that burns fat cells. Now, when I ask my students, how would you use that? They say, well, you drink it, put it in water, something like that. I go, well, no. I mean, that'll work. It's not working because you're taking it internally. It's working because when you smell the grapefruit, this is the research that the way they did it. you're smelling, you're inhaling the grapefruit, it triggers that nervous system response through the limbic system response, which, is olfactory bulb, and then that goes into the limbic system. Limbic system kind of directs the activity of that inhalation. So in smelling grapefruit, you're going to be burning fat cells through a nervous system function. So that's smelling, olfactory, but a physical response. Okay, so when you take my course on the holistic control, try out and explain that stuff in depth. You actually can find some writing on my website about that. All right, so I've got my blend, and the methods I use, I want to show you, see how much time I have here. I want to show you some of the methods that I use here. Okay, I hope you guys can see this. This is a handout that you can get. I'll give you it's actually in the chat. Like if you look in the chat, you should see that. If not, I'm going to put up a banner that will this to you. This is from, I don't have the name of it here. It's a blog I did on anxiety and stress, on how to relieve it. So, this is where I want to be. Okay, so I have a few different recipes in there. This one for being grounded. Now, the methods that I use are meditation, which I find to be very powerful when you're talking about meditation. It's a very powerful tool for healing. And so meditation is one of the key things that I use. Now, I get a lot of clients, the woman that I'm talking about, who's not a meditator. And so I stopped using the word meditate because that can be a turnoff for people that meditate. And if you're a therapist and you're doing a service and you're introducing a new oil, so this is the key to this type of therapy that I'm going to introduce you to right now. It has to be a fragrance to the person, to the guest. So I made a blend for my guest, and if she's not smelled it before, it can be oil she's smelled before, but the mix is going to be different. And I didn't let her smell it. I told her, take it home, sit quietly for 5 minutes, just breathe, whatever, just be in a very, very soothing, comfortable sitting space. And when you feel relaxed, that's when you smell the oil for the first time. So in your therapy practice, you want to get your client relaxed before you introduce this new fragrance to them. Now, I'm telling you this as a therapist where you've already done your consultation and you created a blend specifically for this person. Or you may have blends on the shelf. I mean, if you have 5, 6, 7 blends that you use, as long as they haven't smelled it before, whatever you choose is going to work. Okay. So now you have this blend and you're smelling it for the first time in a relaxed state. What you're doing is you're creating an emotional memory with that scent. Now, I recommend, and this is what I did with my guests, I said, do not smell this outside of that comfortable, soothing, relaxed state for the first 5 days. Actually, I told her 3 days, so I wanted to kind of get on with it. So sitting in a nice, this is meditation, again, ideal, this meditation. And smelling that for the first time, you're creating the emotional bond with that scent, that it representing relaxation. Okay. I could, if you haven't heard any of my talks about the olfactory system, you really want to do that. Okay. Because to understand this is very important. And I'm not going to explain it now. I'm just going to tell you what the system is. All right. So in this state, this is actually a meditation practice that I'm doing here. We don't need to do that. I'm going to tell you about what I call the interrupt. And what the interrupt is, you've got that blend in your relaxed state, creating an emotional memory that this is a relaxing, calming, easy. And this is where language kind of gets confusing. I'm not saying that the blend is calming. You could use an uplifting or what would be considered a stimulating blend, right? Peppermint rosemary are often considered stimulating. If I told you to sit with this blend in a relaxed, calming state, it's not going to stimulate you. It's going to create an association of being calming and soothing. Intention, verbal cues are powerful. Do not dismiss any of it, okay? It says essential oils on drugs. So there's no oil that's absolutely stimulating. There's no oil that's absolutely calming, right? You're directing them in a lot of ways. So I'm directing blend. And, I did want to put, I'm working from a very holistic perspective. And so I think I did use Virginia cedarwood in it because I wanted to relax her fight or flight response. Because what I'm doing in this system is now we wanted to interrupt all the things she told me where they're triggers where she overeats and eats food that she shouldn't be eating because it's the reason why she's gaining weight. So I'm not telling her not to eat anything. I'm not telling her that she needs to lose weight. I'm not telling her to weigh herself. These are absolutely unnecessary because she's done so many diet programs, right? So I told her, just forget all that. Forget where you're here now. This is what you're doing now. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a system that she could work with that would interfere or interrupt with her going to the foods that she should be eating or when she should be eating them. And the system is you do that meditation. So you have to make that emotional connection, right? And with the intentions that I gave her sort of affirmations, things like that. But again, she's not, that kind of language isn't familiar to her. So I needed to talk to her in a way that she could understand it from her perspective. Okay. It's not about me, it's about her. I needed to talk to her with her language, the way she would understand it. And so with these affirmations, that was part of the emotional memory that I created, scent bond. So as she's out in her world, or one of the things where she's sitting home alone, and what are you going to do? You go eat something. So what's the interrupt? You're either at the store and you want that thing that's not good for you, or you can choose a healthier food that you can eat, and it won't compromise you trying to lose weight. So the interrupt, you now have your blend. Not necessarily this blend, happened to be in my pocket. And that's what I told her, carry it around in your pocket. When you have that desire, and I actually gave her a roll-on, you reach into your pocket, you pull out the bottle, and you smell it, and you think of that intention. Now, I labeled her bottle 150 because her goal is to be 150 pounds. So I named the intention on the bottle to be 150. So the emotional bond, the scent, trigger, smelling it, put it away, put it back in your pocket. And the interrupt isn't the oil or the emotional bond. The interrupt is the actual action of reaching into your pocket, pulling out the bottle, uncapping it, and smelling it. That's the interrupt. The rest of it is to trigger that anxiety that may go along, that I want to do this and I can't. You need to get past that. You can't have that feeling if you want this to be successful. You have to be able to guide. And this goes with any kind of therapeutic practice that you're doing. You can't get somebody to change bad habits. You have to let them be guided into changing the bad habits. The more guardrails you put in front of somebody, the more they're going to struggle to break them down. There has to be a flow. There has to be harmony. And that's the beauty of essential oils, is you can make that work. And at the same time, with this more or less intention practice, you have all the therapeutic properties. So you really need to know your oil, right? That's part of what we're trying to do here. What is a selection? And I gave you kind of an idea of how I selected for this woman that I'm talking about, is that I wanted to diminish the fight or flight response, which can be triggered if you really want that food and you're not allowed to. Fight or flight kicks in. So I want to make sure I relieve that. So I'm physically doing that through the pharmacology of the essential oils. The intention, the olfactory system responds to intention. The olfactory system I'm using as the physical emotional memory bond with the essential oil. So these are methods, these are techniques on how I use essential oils. So as a coach, which is why I'm deciding to, instead of being a consultant, instead of being in a room with therapists, I'm just an essential oil coach. I'm an essential oil strategist. I give you strategies to use essential oils. And I really break away from a lot of the common use of essential oils. You know, if you tell me, like in French aroma medicine, they're very, very medical oriented, I found that it didn't work. Now, I worked with naturopathic doctors who were doing a system, not a system, they were doing IV, intravenous essential oil use. And I was consulting on the selection of oils that they could use. And it was extremely interesting. When we're talking cancer and MRSA and just things that are, very extreme medical conditions that I could never ever get involved in. So it was a really cool experience to be able to see how essential oils work in IV and when they work and when they don't work. And it was fascinating. And we saw success, or actually the doctor saw some success and also failure, where if you look in a French aroma medicine medical book and you look online at well-researched studies, I mean, these are peer-reviewed journal research studies that are saying how the essential oil should work. And it didn't. There's a lot to understanding essential oils. And I think all the information, it's just a guide. There are times when, a this or that kind of a drug-like reaction, this oil is going to cure this system or symptom or disease or whatever. It's very rare that they actually are consistent like that, and that's in everything, right? Even pharmaceuticals, they don't always work either. So it's understanding how to select the oil for the person. I've said this many times. You're not selecting oils for the symptom. You're selecting oils for the person. So in that blend that I made for this woman that I'm talking about, the things that I did had some this for that activity, like when I talk about the Virginia cedarwood and the raising parasympathetic activity. That's a this for that way of working. And the grapefruit with the burning fat cells. Do I think it's going to work on her and burn fat cells? I really don't know. I think it will maybe, but it's in there for a lot of other reasons. So understanding essential oils is so key to everything that I'm talking about. It's so, so, so important. Again, I want to give you I'm going to turn this guy off. I want to give you my email. So if you have some questions about this, can you tell that I'm giving you a story, but I can't give you a lot of details because the details are hours long in order to explain this, right? I'm kind of giving you an overview. It's about intention. In a way, it's about law of attraction. It's about picking the right oils for the person that you're working with. It's about selecting the therapeutic properties from the pharmacological perspective. It's also energetically. How does this person respond energetically? If they're kind of flighty, you want to ground somebody. That's an energetic response. I don't think you can test that in the lab. You open somebody up and, you have to dissect a rat to see if they're grounded. I don't think so. How do you do that? So there's a lot of variables here. There's a lot of things to work on. I have that PDF that I was showing you. Let me see. Can I show you this? Not that. This. I have this in the chat. I put this website there. Go ahead and do a screenshot, and if you need this. But where this will take you, it's going to take you to that PDF, and that PDF has some recipes for anxiety, for stress, and then it also has that system, not the complete system. I can give you that. I mean, I'll have to do a talk on that because what I have is I have an 8-step system for choosing the right oils. And then I have a system that includes the intention. It includes the meditation or some sort of relaxing, creating a scent memory bond. So I go through all of those. This PDF here has the start, but it does have some recipes. You know, if you like recipes, it's cool. Do it, but get in contact with me right here if you would like me to help you or guide you, coach you into how to use essential oils. You know, if you have a guest that, you know, in aesthetics or massage that has been a challenge, I can help you out with that. Can help you select the right oils and also how to use it. And what's maybe some of the verbal cues would be. So I would like to ask you to go ahead and subscribe, press buttons. That's the way they always like to end these video things. Subscribe, follow, and of course, like me. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you next time.